Welcome to Ripple Moments. I'm Muriel, and with me today are my favorite actually, co-hosts, Sterling and Clarabelle. Welcome.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. Hi.
Shows like Ripple Moments are so important right now because they bring inspiration and they keep us thinking positively. And, we're really fortunate to have had such amazing guests across different areas. We've had Brenda from the airline industry. We've had Pinky Ring, who's an artist. We've had Miss Sade, who's an educator. And then today we have the wonderful Laura Rice, who is in the entertainment industry. So we've been lucky, you guys, don't you think, to have people from different sectors?
Very lucky.
Yeah. Very lucky to be inspired by them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic people.
Yes. So it's been such a pleasure for us to really find ways to bring joy to all of our viewers, all of our listeners. So thank you for coming back and for listening. And we hope that we will not disappoint today. In fact, I know we will not disappoint.
We will not disappoint. So join me as we welcome today's guest, Laura Rice. Laura has worked as an art and university administrator for over 20 years and has been employed by several highly regarded arts organizations and educational institutions in Chicago, New York City, and Los Angeles. As the Associate Director of New York University's Institute of African American Affairs, Laura produced numerous conferences, lectures, concerts, film screenings, festivals, and art exhibitions, including Yari Yari Pamberi, Black Women Writers Dissecting Globalization. As Art at Walker International Communications Group, she led the National Public Relations Campaign for the Dance Theater of Harlem's 40th anniversary and the grassroots marketing efforts for Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater's performance series. In addition to her work in the arts, Laura is the creator and host of Full Body Frequency, a radio show celebrating plus-size women through the exploration of beauty, fashion, health, and wellness, as well as art and culture, travel, and love. Rice received a bachelor's degree in English from Mount Holyoke College and a master's degree in leadership for creative enterprises from Northwestern University. It is an absolute joy, Laura, to welcome you to Ripple Moments.
Thank you. It's my absolute pleasure to be here with you all. I'm so excited about your show. So much positivity in the world. We need it.
Yes.
We need it. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
We do indeed. And you know how to bring it in, don't you?
Trying. We're all trying. We all try to do our part,
Yeah.
Yes. Well, in the spirit of Ripple Moments and how we welcome our guests, we've got to do the same thing with you that we've done with all of our other guests. We are going to put you to the challenge, Laura.
Uh-oh.
So we are going to ask you 12 questions, one for each month of the pandemic that we've endured, so far. And these questions are going to be yes or no questions. The trick is you've got to answer them all under 1 minute.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, good. Did you bake bread?
No.
Did you work from home?
Yes.
Did you ever have a meeting in your PJs?
Absolutely. Yes.
Did you hoard toilet paper?
No.
Did you find a new hobby?
No.
Did you travel by airplane?
No.
Did you meet 20 new people virtually in 2020?
No.
Did you support your favorite restaurant?
Yes.
Okay. Did your mask make you self-conscious of your breath?
A couple of times, yes.
Did you pay more attention to your eyes now that you have to wear a mask?
No.
Did you get more sleep than you did in 2019?
No.
Are you forever changed?
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. I think all of our guests have said that they are forever changed. So as difficult as this pandemic has been, it's good to know that people are changed and we're assuming for the better, right?
That's a good assumption, but I think I've slacked off in a number of ways.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to give you an opportunity to show us otherwise.
Okay.
So the first thing we want to do is we want to start out with knowing who is Laura Rice. Tell all of our viewers, our listeners, who you are, a little bit about you.
Sure. I am a native Chicagoan, born and raised in Chatham. Let me see. Left Chicago during high school, freshman year, to go to boarding school, got a scholarship, lasted 2 years in Georgia, came back home. There was a lot of things happening there. So a lot of the same things that are happening here right now, racism. So I came home and graduated from high school here, went off to Mount Holyoke College in Massachusetts. But I always knew growing up in Chicago that I would always live in New York. I said, oh, Chicago. I need the big lights. I need the big city. I need New York City. It's calling me. And I told my parents that when I was really young. I never envisioned myself living in Chicago as an adult. And for about 20 years, I lived in New York City and loved it. Learned a lot of life lessons there. Then came back home to Chicago. Intermittently, various and sundry things happened. Left for Chicago, left for New York again. At one point, thought I wouldn't come back to Chicago, but family. One of my father's sisters became ill. She could not care for herself. Out of 10 siblings, all of them were gone except for 2 at this point. My younger brother was taking care of her. He requested that I move back from New York to Chicago to help. I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Really? Living my best life, or at least trying to, as much as one can in New York City. And I said yes after some thought about it. Then, unfortunately, she got sicker and sicker. And the oldest sister, who was I think she was about 95 at the time, her son died. He was in Virginia, my cousin. There's a major age gap between my dad and his sisters. And her son died. And there was essentially no one to take care of her except for me. And I had bonded with her, having come back home to be with the other aunt, trying to get the 2 of them together and, just seeing each other, because it's so difficult if you don't have anyone to bring you here, there, and everywhere. We all know, if we care for family members, that there's got to be somebody to transport, or at least oversee certain activities. I became that person. And so when he died, I was on my way back to New York City. I was like, later, Chicago. But that was not to be. And it was a blessing to care for her for about 5 years. She lived, she said she wanted to live till she was 99. She made it, I think, a week or two past her 99th birthday. And, you know, unfortunately, she had breast cancer. You know, who gets breast cancer in their 90s? My aunt. And we had a care team with her, and my brother and I were able to put both aunts together. We moved them together, and they shared a bedroom until the younger one passed. She was 93. The other aunt was, again, 99. So we were able to bring family together in a way that had not been done in years. And that was an incredible blessing for me. So there we go. And I know I didn't talk about career, but I'm assuming we'll get to that at some point.
Oh, believe me, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing that early part of your journey, right? That has shaped you so much. Boarding school, you said. So
boarding school.
You went to boarding school for 2 years? Is that what you said?
2 years. And I'd like to say that the facts of life influenced that decision, but Tootie, but it really was family that influenced that decision. My mom grew up in Mississippi, segregated, and my grandfather, who was a civil rights worker, also a dentist, and my grandmother was an educator. This is my maternal side of the family. They were able to send all but one of their children to boarding school, and my two eldest aunts attended. Oh God, I can't. It's in New Orleans. It's a boarding school in New Orleans for Black children at that time, colored. My uncle went to Charlotte Hawkins, a Brown school for young men in North Carolina, and my mom ended up at Poughkeepsie School, Oakwood School in Poughkeepsie, New York. It was a Quaker boarding school. Mm-hmm. And part of the reason that my grandfather sent all the kids out, except for one, is that the schools in Mississippi, they were horrible. And he was working to desegregate the schools. I was really inspired by their history, being in boarding school, kind of the opportunities they had, the dances. You look at the yearbooks and it was exciting. The last sibling of theirs, my Aunt Marilyn, did not go to boarding school because by that time, my family was literally chased out of Mississippi overnight. President Eisenhower could not or would not provide any more federal protection for my family. So that's how they ended up in Chicago for the most part. And my aunt ended up at Lindblom High School going there. She enrolled at age 12. So yeah, so they inspired me to go to boarding school. And without some threat for my family's life, I might not be here today, in Chicago. So I'm grateful for those moments, terrible that they were.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A lot of depth in that.
So pretty much boarding school introduced you to the entertainment industry.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say that I had additional opportunities. I mean, I think church was the foundation, the Easter programs, the Christmas programs, singing in children's choir, performing at the Auditorium Theater twice with our choirs. We have 9 choirs at my church. Piano lessons, Girl Scouts, ballet. I mean, it was introduced to the arts long before boarding school, but in a way that, but all of those things were kind of mandated by your parents. Piano lessons, you don't want to practice, that sort of thing. Oh, I don't really want to do this. But in high school, I had the freedom to kind of figure out what I wanted to do and go after the extracurricular activities that I was interested in, or at least I wanted to try. And that's what boarding school did for me. It gave me some independence, Yeah. Yeah. So that was great. That was great. And meeting people from all over the world. When I went to boarding school, and a lot of boarding schools experience this, there are a lot of children of American businessmen who are in the Middle East. And at a certain point, when they get to high school, at that time, they were basically expelled from the country, or they could not go to school in the country. So a lot of them chose to come back home to American boarding schools. And it was a great way to meet other people. They may have been American citizens, but their worldview and their world exposure was a little bit different than mine. So that was exciting as well.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for sharing that.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
So you developed Full Body Frequency podcast in 2014, talking about fashion and beauty, art and culture, health and wellness, travel and love, and celebration of full-figured women.
What inspired me to start the podcast was I did not see enough women, plus size women, in the media space. I did not hear my story. I did not see my story. I had actually worked and I actually had a clothing line that I was trying to get off the ground for plus size women. I've always been kind of one of those people who's into fashion. I've designed jewelry. Like I said, I've designed clothes. During the rage, the hammer pants rage, or as my younger brother would say, the drop the load pants. I would design my own. I was Denise Huxtable of the Cosby Show, like literally designing my own clothes. So one of the reasons why I did that is because I didn't always see the clothes that I wanted in my size. However, I will say this, that there were, if you could afford them, incredible plus size clothes from a store called The Forgotten Woman. Now, some of them were for older women. Some of them were for younger women, but you could find high-end quality clothes there and you could make them what you wanted. But because, you know, things like jeans, Lane Bryant, sometimes you could find them. And like you said, sometimes you couldn't, you just couldn't. And what inspired me to begin Full Body Frequency, going back to that, was that I just didn't see myself in the media. I didn't hear stories that were about me, that were relevant to my life. I mean, everybody wants to fall in love. Everyone wants to be healthy. Everyone wants to see, well, athletics and see people who inspire you. There are plus size athletes out there, you know, that do triathlons. There are plus size pundits who are in the space. There are plus size professors. Brittany Cooper, for one, from Rutgers University, is a major, you know, thought leader and feminist. Love her work. Why isn't she talking about her work, not just politics, you know? So, and why not her personal life? So that inspired me, because I like to know what other people are doing, who they're dating, how they're dating, where they're going on vacation, how they're traveling. Do they need seatbelt extenders that plus size people sometimes need? Are you discriminated against because, you know, the airline is insisting that you buy another seat? You know, so you buy 2 seats instead of 1. How does that work? How do you maneuver? You know, if you're on the beach, do you wear a bikini? Do you wear a bathing suit? You know, how do you feel? Are people staring at you? Or, you know, are all the men asking you to dance because you're so gorgeous? So those kind of conversations, plus the harder conversations about living in COVID right now. What do you do? You know, if you're single, you're not partnered. How do you find pleasure? You know, so all of those things I'm interested in, because those are the kind of things that impact my life.
And I see the correlation too is the underrepresentation. So you are bringing representation for full-figured women. You know, just like for other women back then, it was you couldn't find clothes because you were underrepresented. Also, there's still some more work to be done. So kudos to you for your podcast, you know, on behalf of all of us ladies. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And, you know, I hear a lot of times people say, well, you're giving voice to the voiceless. And it's like, these people have voices. I think what it feels like when I see your show is that you're helping elevate their voice.
I hope so, because the thing about it is that plus size people are hyper visible and we're invisible at the same time. You see us, but you don't want to see us. You notice us, we're on your radar, but then you want to dismiss us, you know? So I don't know if you all have had this discussion yet about COVID and the comorbidities at all.
Not yet. No.
Not yet. Okay. Well, it's really interesting because at one point I received all of these text messages and DMs from friends like, you see how many of these plus size people are dying, from COVID-19, and you need to do something about it real quick. It's like, okay, first of all, we've got a small study. Second of all, what do you know my health situation? Do you know the health situation of these other people? Don't make assumptions. The reality is, yes, plus size people are dying at rates that are higher than the general population, but there could be a number of reasons for that, including the fact that you have people making decisions on who lives or dies. So people really need to keep that into consideration. Keep that in consideration. And one of the things that I was going to say is that we all make assumptions about people. And I think that what we've found out in terms of COVID period in different populations is that when people die, it must be because there was an underlying reason. And I'm going kind of on a tangent because I think it's really important during this time that people go deeper, go much deeper than just the surface. My new hobby coming up soon is to read more, a heck of a lot more. I used to be a really voracious reader, and part of the issue of going deep is that you can't just sit amongst your own personal thoughts. You really have to be guided by some serious reading, because it's self-led, and that's really a dangerous thing to do. And one of the things that happened with me, because I'm single and I don't live with my family, is that I've been incredibly isolated, and I've watched time pass, and I've had to take this time recently to go back to what is that I want? What is it that I want? What is it that I want to do? What is it that I want to contribute to the world? And I think that with COVID, a lot of people are taking advantage of this time that we've been given. I look at it as a gift. I mean, so many people want to get back in the world. I'm at a point right now, well, damn, I feel like I'm almost a year behind everybody else, because while everybody else has dealt with their stuff, I'm finally at the place where I want to deal with my stuff. Before it was, I felt like somebody who was surviving during COVID. Like, I didn't wear my clothes in terms of everybody's in their sweats or their jeans, or I'm a person who's into fashion, and so to me, it was depressing. I just finished unpacking all of my spring and summer clothes. I'm just like, I didn't realize I had so much, and I'm here in this small percentage of my wardrobe of black leggings, black hoodies, my gym shoes, and a jacket. And this is how we're rolling, and a black mask. And we're going into the grocery store and we're coming right back out. We're sanitizing groceries. We're going upstairs. We're taking off the gym shoes. We're Lysoling them. We're spraying the clothes down with alcohol. The clothes that you wear outside, occupy a very specific place. And I felt like for 11 months, that's all I did. Go to the grocery store, pick up food, pick up stuff from my mom and my uncle, who has since passed, not of COVID, but and I just realized I was on this treadmill. And then I looked one day and I saw so many people, one, making lots of money during COVID, not struggling, not surviving, but thriving. I said, damn, I need to be part of this again. I need to be energized. I miss live concerts. I miss going to art galleries. I miss museums. But at the same time, I think at the beginning of COVID, I didn't have to go anywhere except for, again, the grocery store and Target occasionally, Target run, to get toilet paper or whatever. But there was so much in terms of the arts that was on screen. And it was wonderful. But I think after having so much fed to me, I feel like it's time to get back in the real world.
What I do, want to say is, I know that, and I want to sit in this moment for a little longer, as you're really contemplating on where do you go from here? Because that's one of the questions I have for you. You've been an advocate for learning. You've been an advocate for music. You're an advocate for women, and women are really dear to my heart. In our nonprofit Utopia Connect Foundation, we're really concerned about our young girls and women and where they go. So you created a platform. We understand what sparked that, but how do you hope to use that to make further impact?
Wow, that's a really great question. One of the things that I've noticed, and it really disturbs me, is the over sexualization of children, period.
Hmm.
I watch Disney. Sorry, Disney. Maybe I'll work for ABC Disney one day, but there's too much that children are exposed to very young. And I think about my nieces and my nephews, and I'm just like, really? They put that on TV? Y'all are watching that? And one of the things, as it ties to plus size women and girls, is that for so long, we have not valued our bodies and other people haven't valued them. But it's at the point now, and I don't know if you all watch Instagram or not watch, but you're on Instagram and you kind of see what's happening on Reels and how people are posing, and on TikTok. There seems to be an epidemic of I'm plus size, I'm proud. So look at all of me. And I think I'm plus size, I'm proud, but I look good, but it's not everybody's business. So one of the things that sometimes more is too much. Sometimes less is just fine. But I think that in terms of empowering women and girls to understand that it's okay not to share your body. It's okay to cover up. Modest wear. I'm not Muslim, and happy Ramadan, or to our friends that are celebrating it. But I just think that, and I'm going down a rabbit hole here, you guys.
We'd love to hear your views.
I'm sorry, say that again.
We would love to hear your views.
But I just think that our bodies are sacred. Plus size women, we are at the point where we really appreciate our bodies and we celebrate our bodies, we celebrate our curves. But time out with some of this. There's actually currently a 30-day challenge going around Instagram with a lot of influencers. I'm actually doing it as well, but a lot of them are jumping on screen in their bras and panties. And maybe I'm just too old. I'm just like, and I believe in good underwear, matching bras and panties, but I just think that for the sake of some privacy, some sacredness, it's not for everybody, and I want people to know that it's not for everybody. You don't have to share all of that with everybody, so that's.
This is so timely. This is wonderful. This conversation is great. Can I tell you why, Laura?
Sure.
We just interviewed Pinky Ring. Actually, the show just was on YouTube and Facebook, and we talked about WAP, the WAP song, talked about all that comes with that. And her perspective was very, you're both supporting women. Mm-hmm. You're both for women's empowerment, but how you arrive at that is very different. So for our viewers that have not watched that Pinky Ring episode, watch it and also listen to Laura. And you're kind of at extremes, really, right? Because she believes that is a fantastic, like we're finally arriving as women to say what we want to say, to explore our bodies, to communicate. And you say, whoa, wait a second. Mm-hmm. That's everybody's business. So,
well, and here's the caveat to that. Do whatever you want to do in your home. But when it comes to exposing children, don't do it. So, Nicki Minaj and Megan Thee Stallion, they were on the Grammys. you know, performing something that could be after hours, late night, rated R, that should have been. I mean, we have to be more sensitive to, again, to our children. This is not about artistic freedom. This is not appropriate on network television.
Another commonality between you and Pinky Ring, Sterling and Muriel, I don't know if you were listening, but you were talking about dating and you know, you're single and this pandemic. She said the same thing. And you know what she also said to us, Laurel?
What is that?
She said she would love to be matched by the three of us. And that was her wish. So we may have a little pattern and we may have a future in the dating connection here. So,
Hold up, wait a minute. I am single by choice. So that's the first thing. I have made the choice to be single during COVID.
okay, well, give us an opportunity in the future when COVID is over. You guys end this. I feel it. I feel it.
For all your dating needs, call.
Yeah, right.
I saw it a little different. I saw that she was focused on the love aspect on her platform, and I'm like, oh, we could send Pinky to her. But
Yeah. I mean, the reality is I've gotten calls from exes. Hey, you seem you're home by yourself. I'm home by myself. We're not exposed to anybody. You want no click? No. Now, if I didn't call you before COVID began, what makes you think I'm gonna want to deal with you during COVID? And I understand why. People want familiarity. People want comfort. I get all that. But at connection, all of that. But no, there's too much about COVID that we don't understand, that we don't know. However, here's my however. Again, it's time for me to get back out in the world and experience the world. It doesn't mean that I'm necessarily going to do traditional dating or that it's we'll both have to test. And I can't deal with anti-maskers. I would like someone who has been vaccinated twice. And so I've run into a lot of guys that are just like, I don't believe in the vaccine. Is COVID really real? Do masks really work? I'm just like, click.
Right.
Yeah, I still believe in love. I still believe that people need to get together. Again, this isolation has taught me to dig deeper and look at myself and really decide how I want to live and the kind of relationships that I want in the future going forward. And I think this time, it's really important to do that especially if you're single.
Yeah. I want to touch back a little bit on kind of like that concept of people feeling like you have to have written 7 books in the pandemic and developed 7 TV shows and all that kind of stuff. It just, I've definitely felt that similarity, like kind of like, oh, I should have done all these other things, but it's a matter of like, I think everybody's kind of dealing with this journey in the way that they're dealing with it. And I want to kind of like relate it back a little bit to kind of what your show is. And, I used to manage a photography program a while back, and my instructor said something that really struck me and said, well, there's so many images out there. We as artists have a responsibility to put out quality, relevant images. And I see that really kind of relating to a lot of artistic endeavors. How do you like this journey for you? How does that kind of feed into that quality, relevant, integrity for your show?
I think there are a couple of things. One, we're now going live. We've had a couple of live shows. We did one with celebrating D'Angelo's birthday on February 11th. And I wasn't ready to do that at the beginning of COVID. I wasn't ready. My producer had talked to me and told me, actually for years, you need to do lives. I was like, oh, let's do the edit. Let's just go in there, and because I think part of it is he hated to edit, and I at that time I was just like, we got to cut this, we got to cut that. Let me re-record this, let me re-record that, and then at some point it's just like perfection. Just get it out there. Perfection kills. Kills everything. Just get it out there. Let it be whatever it's supposed to be. Let it be organic. And so COVID, after all of this time being by myself, isolated, and then deciding that we would relaunch the show, there was time to do that. There was time to there was time to relaunch the show. There was time to explore some things that I wanted to do in terms of doing lives, in terms of actually doing video, then doing lives. And then now I'm actually going to have guests on that I've been wanting to have on for so long, but I just didn't take a chance. And now that things are opening up, my producer is less available. So what's happening now? I'm going to probably go back into self-producing my show. I've already started to learn how to edit. Those were things that I wasn't ready to do at the beginning of COVID because I was so busy trying to survive. Again, Lysoling everything, spraying my clothes with alcohol, mask, black leggings, just surviving, not living. And so this time has given me time to really think about where I want the show to be, how many subscribers I want, and planning for the future. Let's talk monetization, so all of those things, I retreated, I rested to some extent, and now I'm reinvigorated and I'm moving on.
It's beautiful.
That's great.
Yeah, that is. And in the meantime, because you've got such a rich background, you've done some really unique things. I am going to take you back in time again. So, because I want to ask you about the intriguing conference that you produced, the Yari Yari Bamberi, Black Women Writers Dissecting Globalization. That I did a little reading about globalization at the time, but I want to know, what was the outcome of the conference?
Well, okay, I'm gonna. Globalization is bad for most folks. That was the sense that I got. So this was in the early 2000s, living in New York City, having experienced September 11th, and it's probably 3 or 4 years later, that this conference was produced by spoken word artist and activist and poet and musician Jayne Cortez, the late Jayne Cortez. She mentored me and Rosamond King. The three of us technically co-produced the conference at NYU, where I worked at the time. And it was the most amazing gathering of women, Black women from all over the world. So you had women who flew in from Africa, you had women from the Solomon Islands, you had women from everywhere, you name it. They were there. Caribbean, oh my God, the United States, Europe. There's a woman, and I don't know if you all remember this book about a woman, a Black woman who grew up in Russia. Lily, I can't remember her last name. She was there. Octavia Butler was there. Toni Morrison was there. Alice Walker was there. Elwar El Sadawi was there. She just passed. The Egyptian writer. Just so many women there, diplomats. It wasn't just women writers, there were diplomats as well, filmmakers, you name it. And these women, they talked about what was happening in their country. They spoke about how globalization was already starting to either help or hurt their artistic production or their country's economic development. And so there was a wealth of information. It was actually documented.
No, you said some, very thought-provoking things, and I hope that other people, as we listen to you, might see ourselves in you. Because I think one of the things that the messages that COVID sent me over the whole year, I've been like strapped for time, and there were so many demands on me. And I think Sterling, we were talking about this, like, how do you ground yourself? How do you center yourself? You just made a big commitment to take care of you. How are you doing that?
Well, I will be reading more. Again, I was a voracious reader. I'll take time to get offline because, days have been filled with Zoom, 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 and like I said, at the beginning of COVID, it was wonderful to see all these arts presentations, concerts, lectures, and all of that online. That's been great. I'm cutting that. I'm about to cut that. And so I'm getting back into a routine. I live near a hill, very steep hill. So, I can go up and down. I've done it and I enjoy it. I love being physical. So more of that for sure. Getting back into my Pilates practice. I may go back to yoga. Listening to good music. Going back to that, I find that I listened to a little less music during COVID, probably because I wasn't in the car as much.
Ooh, well, while we have you here, I have a question for you.
Sure.
A question that I borrowed, from your podcast, which I thought was phenomenal. Since you have a podcast, if you could interview anybody, past or present, who would it be?
Wow, good question.
It's yours.
I know. I wonder. Probably my grandparents.
Cool.
Probably my grandparents, because there's a lot, and my maternal grandparents at that, because there's a lot of information as we are packing up their house. There's a lot of letters, beautiful letters. My aunt found my grandparents and put all of their love letters together when he was at dental school, and my grandmother was an undergrad, and those were great. But there are lots of stories. There are lots of ways of knowing that my grandparents had that made it, I wouldn't say easy to maneuver through the world, but they were smart about how they moved. I would want to talk with them about their wisdom and how they lived.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I wish you could have interviewed them, so thank you. I know that you mentioned that when the world reopens, you can't wait to go to concerts. You can't wait to go to galleries. You can't wait to go to museums. That's what you're most excited about. Is there something you will not do now that you've experienced this pandemic, something that you will not do?
I think I will not waste another beautiful day inside.
Oh, excellent answer.
I really like that.
Simple, plain.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful takeaway. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. Laura, you have such a rich history. I think we should have like an after party after this conversation, just us. But it's really beautiful just to hear your story. But one of the things that, as we come to the end of our conversation, one of the things that we want to always make sure we incorporate, because it's so important to me, and we've just been through a tough year, and for me, I'm so grateful. There's so much I'm grateful for. So we give everyone an opportunity to talk about just at least one thing that you are grateful for.
Wow. Faith. And understanding that if our ancestors could get through what they call the Spanish flu of 1918, we can get through this. If our ancestors got through the Middle Passage and survived 400 years of being enslaved, some of us, we can get through this. Wars, famines. I mean, think about it. If they hadn't survived, none of us would be here. None of us. So faith that this too will pass, faith in our ancestors, faith knowing that we are supposed to be here in this moment, no matter what. So that's what's carried me through.
Yeah. That was a little sermon right there. All right. Well, we have walked right into our ripple moment.
Okay.
It's all yours. Thank you.
So here is my ripple moment. It's by Octavia Butler's Ripple. I'm sure this was her ripple moment, and I'm going to steal it right now. She says, I shall be a best-selling writer. After Image, each of my books will be on the bestsellers list of the LA Times, the New York Times, Publishers Weekly, Washington Post, etc. My novels will go onto the above list, whether publishers push them hard or not, whether I'm paid a high advance or not, whether I ever win another award or not. This is my life. I write best-selling novels. My novels go onto the bestsellers list on or shortly after publication. My novels each travel up to the top of the bestsellers list, and they reach the top and they stay on top for months, at least 2. Each of my novels does this. So be it. So be it. See to it. I will find the way to do this. So be it. See to it. My books will be read by millions of people. I will buy a beautiful home in an excellent neighborhood. I will send poor Black youngsters to Clarion or other writers' workshops. I will help poor Black youngsters broaden their horizons. I will help poor Black youngsters go to college. I will get the best of healthcare for my mother and myself. I will hire a car whenever I want or need to. I will travel whenever and wherever in the world I choose. My books will be read by millions of people. So be it. See to it. I mean, and she spoke this into being.
Yeah.
That was her affirmation.
This is her affirmation. And it's beautiful. I mean, she wrote it. I copied it offline. I downloaded it and printed it out. But that's what she wrote in her own handwriting. She spoke it. She wrote it and spoke it into existence. Yeah. And I think now this is the moment. Speak it, write it into existence. Believe it. Mm-hmm. Believe it. Because I don't believe that we all have this time to just kind of come out of COVID and be doing the same thing at the same rate that we were doing before.
Right.
You know?
So what do you take with you? What's your takeaway right now?
My takeaway, do it. Just do it. Nike commercial, just do it. Just do it. You survived. Now it's time to thrive. It's time to thrive. I mean, small things that used to annoy me, like, I'll hug you next time, Mom. No, I want to hug my mom now. It's been over a year since I've hugged my mom, you know, since I've hugged and kissed my nieces and nephews, my brothers, you know, since I've been in a relationship, you know. So now's the time to prepare for all of that. So if there's anything that you want to do, we have the technology to do it. There's a lot that we can do with very little, and we should do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Just do it.
Laura, thank you. Thank you for being so candid today about your challenges, about your desires, your values. I've learned a great deal about you, as I think all of our listeners and viewers have. And it's hard to be bold for a lot of us, but I certainly appreciate you coming here and being bold and sharing with us who the new you is, and sharing that. What a beautiful ripple moment. I love that. And I can see why you borrowed that from Octavia Butler. That was really powerful. So thank you so very much. How can our viewers check out Full Body Frequency? Where do you want them to go?
Sure. They can go to Facebook, Twitter, let's see, Instagram, of course, because we're all on Instagram, YouTube, Full Body Frequency, and let's see, SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. Just Google Full Body Frequency and check us out. Come and join us. Even if you're not a plus size woman, it's for those who love us as well.
Cool.
That's right.
Thank you. And you've been such a great guest and a very inspiring person. I imagine you've got a lot of people in your life too that you would be inspiring as well. You think would be inspiring to our guests. So would you like to nominate somebody for our future taping at Ripple Moments?
So are there any parameters?
That they are inspiring.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I will nominate a classmate of mine from Mount Holyoke, Anne Marie Rodriguez. She's
Excellent.
in London. She's a life coach. I nominate her.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Lovely.
We
would
are
love
looking
to have
to take Ripple Moments International, so this will be a good way to get across the pond there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you all so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate being able to talk out loud, get my thoughts out, not be isolated by myself.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah.
Well, this is a good opportunity for us to have you.
And now we're going to take a quick look at a teaser for Full Body Frequency. So watch with us.
Now, before we talk about your breakout song, Earth is Ghetto, let's play a quick word association game. I'll give you a word or a phrase, and you tell us immediately what pops into your mind. Plus size.
Normal. I forgot how many times I was asked, did you see the D'Angelo video? Oh my God, the new D'Angelo video, blah, blah, blah. And it's actually in the book where Miss Rice, Laura, calls me at 7:30 in the morning and says, oh my God, turn on MTV. And I was like, what? Wait, why? I got to go to work. And the video is on. I'm like, ah! So it worked.
I think I shared a story with you before about how I was at a spa. And excuse me, and I'm hoping you can do Reiki on my allergies because my nose is dripping. So forgive me, you all. But before the coronavirus, I used to go and receive Reiki treatments in person. The first Reiki healer, or really massage therapist as well, our energies didn't connect. It was really clear that she was uncomfortable with me. Could have been my plus size body. It could have been my black body, or both. After that session, I requested another therapist. And this time it was amazing. She said similar things like, I was trying to open up your third eye, but you kept shutting it down, and your heart chakra is closed. And I was thinking, well, damn, maybe this is why my dating life is not so great at this point. If you are interested in learning more about the thousands, like literally Pink Kitty has thousands of products.
17,000. I know, it's crazy.
Wow. Okay. So they have everything. It's plus size undergarments for men and women.
Spanking
plus size-
benches.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay. You constantly blow my mind, Vanessa.
I'm sorry.
But that's okay. That's okay. Okay. Spanking benches. So I'm assuming that you have the whips as well.
Laura, we thank you today for being our guest and for being a voice and an advocate for women and girls. Again, that really matters to us here at Utopia Connect Foundation. Just ensuring that they're not invisible. Thank you for the work that you do. You're an advocate, you're an educator, you're so much, an entertainer, and we have truly been inspired by you today. So thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be in such great company.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for our viewers and our listeners, we invite you to join us again for another Ripple Moment. Thanks so much for being here with us. See you later.
Bye.